What's going on, people? Welcome back to another video on the channel. I'm worried about the Migos. Let's talk about it. The reason why I'm recording this video today is because it is the 27th of January 2020. Now, that is just a random date to most people, as it is. It's a Monday. It is what it is. There's nothing special about that. But it has actually been 3 years to the day since Migos dropped their album Culture. It's pretty much called Culture, but we know it as Culture 1 now. Now, 2017 was a different landscape for the Migos. We saw them get shouted out by Childish Gambino. They were in Atlanta, which is his show. Donald Glover, as he goes by pretty much more now these days, as Childish Gambino is pretty much done. But at the time, it was still very much alive. They had dropped Bad Boujee, and that had become one of like the biggest songs pretty much of... Well, I think it was the biggest song in hip-hop between the end of 2016 into 2017. The album had hits after hits. I think 90% of the album I liked. I think the only song I know I don't like, and I still don't like it to this day, is All Ass. And that's not even that bad. To be fair, Bad Boujee, when it came out, I didn't even like the song. It grew on me. Do you know what I mean? And that's how that album was. No, that album was sick. Let's not lie. The album was actually a very, very good album. And that year, 2017, they went on an incredible run. They were working with all types of people. They were working with Sean Paul. They had that tune with Katy Perry. Now, obviously, that didn't really work out too well because, you know, all that madness went down and Bon Appetit wasn't really, I think that's what the song was called. It weren't a great song, but nonetheless, you couldn't get away from the Migos in end of 2016 into 2017. People were saying that, you know, Quavo was the Beyonce of the group. People were making those jokes. People were trying to say Takeoff couldn't, you know, he had the best verses. I mean, that was one camp. That was the camp I was in. Like, and his verse on Deadz was amazing. I can't lie. There was too much energy. That song was getting me too hype. But Offset was kind of the guy who he made Migos kind of pop in the first place because of the hook. But he also wasn't there for a while because he was in jail at the time, like before that. So this was the first time they were all three together and they were all enjoying the fruits of their labor, innit? And it worked out well for them. Like I said, 2016, 2017, you couldn't get away from them. But as we got to the end of 2017 into 2018, I feel like there was a slight shift in how people consume the Migos. So Motorsport came out and that song was kind of like dripped in controversy for the whole fact that Nicki Minaj, Cardi B on the same track together. Everyone kind of knew at this point they don't like each other. How is that going to work out, you know, properly? Because they don't like each other, you know what I mean? But that song was decent. It wasn't as good as anything on Culture 1, to be honest. But if you still play it now and it's 3 years later, you'll still get a good reaction. Do you know what I mean? So that being said, that was a decent song. I'm not going to lie. My shoulder just popped and it hurts. Oh my God, I'll be back. Okay, pop shoulder aside. I don't even know if you can hear that on the microphone, but it is what it is. Basically, they had that song. It was controversial. Obviously, how can I even forget the Joe Budden situation? Oh my, listen, that situation was mad. They even made the track Ice Tray. I think that was on Control the Streets 1. That was funny as well. Like I'm saying, they had a madness. But anyway, we're talking about Culture 2 now. So Culture 2 basically didn't go as well as they planned. They had Motorsport that came out. It was okay. Mixed reviews. Most people liked it. I was kind of sitting on the fence with it. Leaning more towards like. Stir Fry came out. People weren't really sure too much. They dropped Superstars. And then by that point, at that time, even myself, I was like, ooh, this is a bit shaky. This one is a bit shaky. I don't know how good this is now because I like the song. Don't get me wrong. Superstars now, I like the song. The song is good. But at that time, I was thinking to myself, where's the hit? Because Culture 1 was hit after hit after hit after hit. So January 2018 came around. Album comes out. I was hype. I was ready for the album because Culture 1, we got what we got. I'm expecting the same thing again in Culture 2. But literally, straight away, I went on Twitter that day, 2018, 2 years ago now. It was getting slated. People were parring the album off big time. Now, that album had Walk It Like I Talk It with Drake. And the thing is, that song was good. But again, it didn't hit the same as the other ones did. And most people were gassed on Drake. And to be honest, my personal preference on that song was Offset. We started to see a change in the whole dynamic of the Migos anyway. People were looking at Offset now as the guy. Do you know what I mean? Like Quavo, we're going to get into Quavo Huncho in a second. It got to the point where Culture 2 didn't have that same impact. And at this time, I might be wrong in it, but in 2018, Cardi B was now the person who was the biggest act. She just come off, you know, Bodak Yellow. People were looking at her now as, you are the new rising star of hip hop. Now that all blends in well anyway, because she was going out of Offset even back then. However, it's not the Migos anymore. So as the year went by, bear in mind we also had Huncho Jack that came out of Travis Scott. That was just Quavo, his collaborative project, which was good. It was decent, but again, it didn't hit the same. Didn't have a song that united all the people. So now we're starting to see, even though it's not a decline, we're starting to see a little bit of a decline from the Migos. Do you know what I'm saying? So we get to the end of 2018. Bear in mind, I'm probably forgetting little extra things, but we're just going over a summary, right? We get to Quavo, Huncho. Now, a solo album is what people have been asking for a while, especially from Quavo, because he was the one who, in 2017, 2018, the melodic driven trap bangers is what sold the show. But Quavo Huncho dropped and no one liked it. Now, if you liked it, shout out you. No one else liked it. Really and true. Like, there was a few decent songs on there. Like Lamb Talk was alright, Bubblegum was okay. The one with Madonna, no thank you. The one with Davido, I played on my mix show. So I mean I liked it clearly back in 2018 when it came out, but it didn't sit with good reviews at all. Takeoff dropped his effort. And Takeoff was someone who was a bit more quiet. Obviously, the whole, who did you get left off, Bad and Boujee? No, you get left off. That was a meme that was going around. That's what started the Joe Budden stuff and all that. But that, he dropped his effort. Again, not bad, but I feel like Takeoff, he hasn't put himself out there enough that people, when they did want to listen to it, his energy is always powerful most of the time. And let's not lie, when Takeoff's on the track, it's a Migos track, 9 times out of 10 he's destroying that. And in the comment section you always see all the time, he should have been on that, he destroyed it, this, that, the other. But fundamentally, the two projects from Quavo and Takeoff didn't hit as they could have and as they should have, with the exposure and the talent and the pool that those guys could have got in on their projects, especially Quavo at this point. We get to Offsets though. 2019, before we even get to Offsets, we were waiting. I think we kind of got used to, as fans, we got used to getting a culture every year. But maybe because of the result of the underwhelming Quavo Huncho, maybe the fact that people didn't like Culture 2, and there was a rumor that, you know, the album was only been made in like 45 minutes, which is nuts, you know, when you think about it. So when something's amazing quality, people will be like, yeah, sick, I'm on it. Do you know what I mean? When it's not good quality, people will get at you for the 45 minutes. Just what I mean. Like, you could have used that to write one song, let alone 23. I think there was bare songs on the album. But that being said, the last song on Culture 2 was I think it's called the Culture National Anthem. I still like that song to this day. So that's the thing. I feel like that album, it was a bit ahead of its time, but at the same time, people are not doing that. People want music for the now, not for the future. But that's a different story for a different time. As we get to 2019, last year, obviously still pretty much early into 2020 anyway, we kind of had this situation where we're not getting a culture. Now, there was rumors there was going to be one, and then it didn't come to light, and we got Father of Four by Offset. Now, by far, out of the 3 solo projects, this was the best one. He had a hit with Cardi B, Clout. That was doing bits. Me, personally, I like the one with CeeLo Green, North Star. That was sick. He had a few others, Legacy of Travis Scott and... yeah, Travis Scott, 21 Savage. There was a lot of songs on that tape that made sense for the time. And I liked Offset mixing honesty and also trap bangers. And that's kind of sometimes what you want from the Migos, you know what I mean? And he was on the Breakfast Club talking about why he's growing up, he's getting older. I think at that time he was 27, he might be 28 this year. He needs to learn and adapt for himself. And that's pretty much what he did on that tape. You see what I'm saying? So it was a better look for him, for them, and it brought Migos back into the conversation like that. And then Offset went on some mad run, mad run. Worked with Blueface. You know, he worked with Stunner for Vegas, who just dropped his album in the last month or so. Like, there's loads of other names in it, right? But they're the ones that we're gonna say just for now, because otherwise the list is gonna be long, and I can't be asked to get up the list and start reading who else he worked with. But why am I worried about the Migos? Now, we've done the history, we've done the whole thing itself here now. The problem why I'm worried is that, for all the reasons that I just said after 2017 into 18, they haven't had a universal hit in a long time now. Like Pure Water, which came out of Mustard, and it had DJ Durrell's Hot Summer. They were good, but they weren't Bad and Boujee. They weren't this, they weren't that. They haven't had a massive hit probably since Bad and Boujee. maybe motorsport. So, and as people have gone from championing them and saying, look, they can't do any wrong, to now the fact that they can do wrong, and people are directly saying, I don't like your album, or I don't like your song, or I don't like your music. What are these guys gonna do? Now, it's 3 years since the first Culture, right? And apart from the DJ Khaled introduction and all us, the rest of them songs right there, I appreciated and I liked. But Culture 3, what did they do? Culture 1 was very short compared to Culture 2, but it hit more. Culture 2 was long and it felt long, but at the same time, everyone was doing long albums for streaming purposes. Where are these guys gonna sit for Culture 3? That is the question, and I'm worried about them. And me personally, I'm saying this, so I'm doing this video because I want them to do well, innit? I want them to do well. However, if they don't, where are they gonna sit? Because really and truly, it's a new decade. New people are gonna be coming through, breaking through. In 10 years' time, think about 2010, Wiz Khalifa was probably the hottest artist. 2020, Wiz Khalifa's still around, but he's not the hottest artist anymore. So where are the Migos gonna sit? That is the question. I'm worried about it, but I want to see where they sit, and I'll be ready if they do drop Culture 2, Culture 3 this year. Let's see what it's saying. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you enjoyed this and you also have anything that you want to say, make sure you leave a comment down below. I will see you guys for another video sometime soon. I'm worried about the Migos. Are you too? Let's talk about it in the comments.